Tony Blake, what do you advise clients, in particular I'm talking about the trial counsel, when they're dealing with very technical, and I'd say scientific, but it's a science, it's an art as well, evidence like this?
Well, we tell counsel to make sure that the jury understands all the evidence, to get the experts up there to teach it like it's a class. They need to be almost professorial up there, which you've seen these experts do. And they need to break it down into simple terms for the jury. Then the jury can somewhat analyze the evidence and the credibility of each of the experts to determine which side they want to put more weight to.
Okay, what about the expert who begins to duel with one of the attorneys? Because we did have an interesting interchange with one of the defense experts, really seemed to go at it with Ducek, made some people uncomfortable.
Absolutely. You can tell that I mean, even from your perspective or your viewer's perspective, those witnesses tend to lose credibility with the jury. Any expert who comes forward and starts to duel, starts to look more like an advocate, or starts to look like they have a bias on one side or the other, their credibility is going to be a little bit reduced for the jury.
Tony, let me ask you about the judge's decision not to sequester this jury. I don't know that I agree with it at this point in time. I may have initially, because this was going to be a long trial. You don't want to keep them hostage, but we've now had the Samantha Runyon case. We've got the Elizabeth Smart case. A lot of things going on that could affect this jury. How do you feel about that issue?
Well, it's a hard call to decide after he's already made the ruling not to sequester. It would be a hard call to decide at any one point here, okay, this is the time. Of course, after he got back from his vacation, the Samantha Runyon stuff had already come out. It would be silly to sequester the jury at that point. The information had already come out. And so there's some discussion of sequestering them during jury deliberation, and I can't really see any advantage that that would have, in that they've already been exposed to so much of this stuff already.
Yeah, if somebody's going to come in and try and influence, just like the judge pointed out, apparently two men were trying to get license plate numbers, or two individuals that we still don't know who they are. Any influence would have already taken place, I assume, Tony. But do you find in your work in talking with jurors that there is more of an inclination, once all the evidence is in, once final arguments are in, to at least be pressured to hear information from other people?
Not more when they're in deliberation than when they're in the regular trial. And for this trial particularly, because of the media coverage of this trial, when they went on break, I was very concerned that people would come and talk to them about things. So while the trial is on media, I think they're more likely to be contacted by external people than they are when they're deliberating.
Okay, and another question, how honest, and this is a loaded question, but you've talked to jurors, you've done a lot of research, how honest are jurors with the court when they say, we will not watch any of this? Because this case has been, certainly as a news story, covered a lot of places, and we're there wall to wall. How do you really know they haven't been watching?
It's very difficult to know. There's no way to police them at home. I think genuinely when people make the promise to only look at the things that are going on in the four corners of the courtroom, they genuinely want to stay with that promise. I think it's a very difficult human feat to do, to only concentrate on the evidence and not on anything else that's out there. I think it's easier to ignore the media about this particular case than it is to ignore all the other media. So it's going to be very difficult for them, and they're going to have to do something that's almost not human by getting rid of all the external variables and only judging on the four corners of this trial.
It would be very, very